and our attention and our focus on that day when we stand before the Lord, because heaven is not just a destination. Heaven is a motivation to live our lives for Him. Deb and I have a couple of beagles, Deuce and Yogi, and we love these beagle boys. They're brothers, and they live for this time of year because this time of year is when the rabbits are around. And every day, Deuce and Yogi get up with the prayer that today's the day we're going to catch a rabbit. We let them out in the backyard, and there they go. Their noses are down. They're looking for that rabbit trail. They are on it. They're yelping. They smell it. They go. They're chasing rabbits. They don't hardly ever catch one. Maybe one in all these years. That wasn't a pretty sight, but it was a really slow rabbit. But believers ought to be like beagles, with our noses down, our attention focused. We're chasing something. We're running after the presence of God. We're running into His presence. That's what I'm saying. If you want this journey of life to be full of joy, then passionately, not half-heartedly, but passionately pursue God, body, soul, and spirit. Jesus talked about this in the Beatitudes, Matthew 5. In verse 6, when He said, "Blessed are they who do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they will be satisfied." Don't chase happiness per se, but chase righteousness, chase God. Because so many people are trying to find happiness by trying to be happy. It's not in trying to be happy that we become happy. It is, our happiness is in Him. He said, "Blessed are they who hunger and thirst after righteousness." It's His righteousness that we seek, and it is Him that we seek. And therein comes the blessedness, the happiness. 3 times in this passage, the word blessing shows up. We are blessed and blessed and blessed again because of Him. We're hard after Him. We are hungry for Him. We are homesick for Him. I don't know how much of God you have, but I'll tell you this. You have all you want. All you want. And with that, when you have what you want, you have all that you need. Because Jesus is enough. Jesus is everything. And He will satisfy you. And the joy and the peace and the happiness on this journey of life, it comes when we are passionate for Him. I wonder how that's working in our lives. I'm not there yet. Like this psalmist. I read this and I think, I'm so far away from the Christian, the man I ought to be. This guy who's getting up every day, this guy who's going for it in his life every day for the Lord. Now, I can tell you that I'm growing in this. And every day I get up and I first turn my face to God. But I feel like the Apostle Paul when he said, "I haven't arrived yet." And my goodness, if Paul wasn't there yet, I know I'm not there yet. He said in Philippians 3, "I haven't yet arrived. But this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, I press on to the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Jesus Christ." He said that I may know Him. Paul. My goodness, if anybody knew the Lord, it was Paul. But he said that I may know Him. He wanted to know Him more and more, progressively, until perfectly He stood before Him. He said, I press on towards the prize. Listen to me. We pursue what we prize in life. We pursue what we prize in life. If you've got a girl and you love that girl, you're going to pursue her. She's a prize. If your prize is your career, then you're going to pursue that with everything you've got. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with pursuing, of course, a career. But are we pursuing God with this same kind of devotion and desire and dedication? Is He your highest delight? Is He your deepest desire? That's what I'm asking myself. Do I get up every day to give him the first part of my day? Do I give him the first part of my income? Do I give him the first part of my week in worship? Am I pursuing him because he is the prize of my life? The whole idea of worship is worthship. In fact, the old Anglo-Saxon word for worship is worthship. What we consider weighty or worthy, we worship. God is weighty. He is worthy of all our worship. And if he is the prize, and he is, then we pursue him above everything else in our life. I want to get there. And I know you do as well. This is a journey. Are you on it? Are you pursuing with passion the Lord Jesus Christ? This is the way home. This is the way to a place of stability and strength and belonging, safety in your life. You should long for your eternal home. Your final destination, whether it is in heaven or is in hell. If you're facing a judgment without God, then you ought to fear the future. You ought to fear the unknown. But if you know Jesus in your life, there's nothing to fear. You're on your journey home. You're on your way to heaven. You're destined for the true Jerusalem, the eternal Zion. There ought to be a longing for heaven and home. Philippians 1:21, Paul said, to live is Christ, to die is gain. He said, I have a desire to depart and be with Christ, which is far better. And I think the longer we're on this journey, the longer we've been living for the Lord and following him, the more homesick for heaven we get. Heaven should be the habit of our hearts. Paul said in Colossians chapter 3 and verses 1 and 2 that we should not set our affections on things below this world, but set your affections on things above. Let your mind be set and focused on him. Let your mindset be of the hope and the promise of a greater future. Because as it's been said many times, the people who do the most for this world think most about the world which is to come. It's true. You know I'm a baseball fan. And I think the most exciting thing about a baseball game, I know as a former player, that's the most exciting thing for me. It was rounding third and heading home. I always watch third base when I'm watching a game with runners on, because I